Welcome back to Raptor-One.
Raptor-One, Voyagers of the Stars. Season 2, Chapter 17. The Spaces Between Battles. The Hall After Canter. The ember glowed faint, steady. No battles to fight tonight. No corridors demanding law. The bowls hummed present like a tired chorus. The hood drank their pride and returned boredom, as it always did. It was in that calm that the crew allowed themselves what was rare, space to simply be people together. No hinge, no rope, no rests. Just breath. Cyrus and Tessa. Cyrus sat cross-legged near the ember, tea-tin balanced on his knee. He hadn't streamed in days. The silence in his chest felt both terrifying and freeing. Tessa sat beside him, her hum steady, low, almost absent. "You nearly broke," she said softly, not accusing. "Yeah," he admitted. "And the worst part is, I wanted to, just for the rush, the crowd, the certainty." She touched his hand, her hum wrapping around the words. "But you didn't." His grin was small, weary. "Only because you were here. Check in." "Here," she said, her smile faint but warm. "No beacon." He exhaled, steady for the first time in hours. Varric and Darrow. In the maintenance bay, Varric flexed his scarred arm, working the hinge by hand. Each click echoed against metal walls. Darrow sat nearby, rope coiled across his lap. "You ever think rope's too gentle?" Varric asked, half a growl. "No," Darrow said simply. "Gentleness is harder to twist. Hinge can be doctrine. Rope can only be furniture, if you keep it honest." Varric snorted. "Maybe that's why I envy it." He ran the hinge again. Old pain, new bruise, nephew fixed it. Darrow said nothing, but he stayed close, steady as the coil in his lap. Ira and Talon. In the blister, Ira traced the stars with one hand while Talon sketched shallow timings into metal scraps. She whispered, "Cantor hurt me." To hear radiant split like that, I almost wanted to follow it, just to believe it was whole again. Talon nodded without judgment. Tools can be broken into lies. Songs too. Doesn't mean the shape they want is the right one. She sighed. "But faith isn't a tool." "No," Talon said. "It's a knife. It cuts both ways. We just decide where the edge goes." Ira almost laughed, then leaned into the window, comforted that at least her fear had been spoken aloud. Chiron and Saran. Chiron found Saran alone at the slab, their hands steady on the board. Tokens clicked softly in Chiron's palm. "You let him take the lead," Chiron said. "Not accusation, observation." "I did," Saran replied. "He could have broken." "He didn't." Chiron tilted his head. "You're still gambling, just with quieter dice." Saran looked up, eyes tired but unwavering. "Every command is a gamble. My job isn't to make the bet safe. It's to make sure the crew walks away with something worth keeping." Chiron's tokens clicked once more, then fell silent. For once, he didn't argue. The ember's quiet approval. When they returned to the hall, each carrying unspoken weights, the ember pulsed once. Not brighter, not louder, just steady, warm, present. Saran banked the day, rests placed, hinge cooled, rope coiled, knife struck through. They didn't write it into the board. Some things were meant to live only in memory. The crew slept. Together, plain, stubborn, unremarkable. And for a little while, that was enough. The first laugh. The galley smelled faintly of tea and something Varric insisted was stew, though no one could identify what had gone into it. The table was littered with mugs, scraps of rope Darrow was fidgeting with, and one hinge Varric had sworn was too important to leave in the bay. Cyrus sniffed the pot, then recoiled. That's not food. That's a dare. Varric growled. It's protein. Tessa laughed, really laughed, bright and unguarded. Protein for what? Patching hull breaches? The room broke into chuckles, and Varric scowled in mock offense. You'll all thank me when we're not starving at Vigil Bend. The rope trick. Darrow, ever patient, looped a coil into a knot, then flicked it so it resembled something like a rabbit. He set it on the table. Behold, he said deadpan, dinner with personality. Cyrus nearly spit his tea. That's more alive than Varric's stew. The rope rabbit promptly collapsed. Ira, giggling, whispered, mercy kill. Even Chiron's lips twitched at that. The tale of the audience. Cyrus leaned back, eyes sparkling. You know, if I had streamed that fight with the primer, the comments would have been a mess. Half the crowd would have said I was a hero. The other half? Boring. Fell asleep. Where's the explosions? Talon snorted into their mug. So basically, you lost your core demographic to nap time. The whole table erupted. Even Saran, usually the anchor of composure, covered their mouth to hide a grin. A captain's smile. At one point, the laughter quieted enough for Saran to look around at them. Ira wiping tears from her eyes, Tessa's hand lingering near Cyrus's, Varric scowling through grins, Darrow's rope knotted into ridiculous animals, Chiron pretending not to enjoy himself, Talon laughing so hard they almost spilled tea. For a heartbeat, Saran let themselves smile openly. The crew was not broken. Not yet. And maybe laughter was the strongest armor they had. The Ember's answer. The Ember, glowing quietly in its sling by the galley wall, pulsed once, warm, steady, almost amused, as though even it knew that laughter was a kind of survival. The bowls hummed present. And for the first time in too long, the crew of Raptor-One let themselves laugh until their ribs hurt. Old stories, new jokes. The laughter in the galley softened into chuckles, then settled into the easy rhythm of conversation. Cups refilled. Rope toys sat collapsed on the table. For once, no one rushed to be serious. Tell us one, Ira said suddenly, turning to Saran. From before you wore the captain's stare. Saran arched a brow. My captain's stare? You know the one, Cyrus chimed in, mimicking Saran's deadpan expression. Late, plain, stubborn, and if you move that hinge again, Varric, I'll throw it out the airlock. Varric actually laughed, a deep rumble that startled even him. Saran shook their head, but their mouth twitched. Fine. Once, before the Accord drafted me, I flew courier routes. Got lost between 3 relays. Ended up in the same corridor 4 times. I swore I'd charted a shortcut. Turns out I was just flying in circles. Chiron smirked. That explains your navigation orders. Embarrassing admissions. Talon tapped their mug thoughtfully. First thing I ever built was a timing knife, so deep it cracked the table. My instructor called me hammer hands for 2 cycles. Ira giggled. I broke my first ember sling. Burned the floor black. My mother still insists I did it on purpose. Varric crossed his arms. I once headbutted an Autom relay. Didn't help. Didn't hurt either, I'll bet, Cyrus said. Varric's scarred lip curled into what might have been a grin. You'd lose that bet. The tea bet. Cyrus held up his tin, the one marked in no comment. I'll make you all a deal. If we survive Vigil Bend, I'll stream again. But only for you lot. One private show. Tessa arched a brow. And what would that be? He grinned. A dramatic reading of Varric's cooking recipes. Varric growled. That's not funny. Everyone else laughed until the bowls vibrated. Shared strength. By the time the laughter ebbed, the crew was leaning closer, shoulders brushing. The ember pulsed once, not bright, but warm. The bowls hummed present, like even they knew the ship was lighter than it had been in weeks. Saran looked around the table, letting themselves smile openly this time. Remember this. Laughter's as much armor as rope, hinge, or rests. Don't forget it. Tessa reached for Cyrus's hand under the table. He squeezed back, not for a crowd, not for a stream, but for her. For tonight, that was enough. Drifting toward rest. The galley had gone quiet, laughter fading into the kind of warmth that lingered in the chest. Cups sat half empty, rope animals sagged against each other, and the hinge on the table had stopped clicking at last. The ship hummed around them, steady and low, as though it too was exhaling. One by one, the crew drifted from the table. No orders, no speeches, just the easy flow of people who had survived something together and now needed sleep more than pride. Private moments. Varric was the last to leave the galley, muttering about tightening the hinge again before bed. He never did. Sleep found him first, still in his chair. Ira lingered in the blister, sketching a rest on her slate before letting it fall into her lap, eyes closed against the stars. Darrow hung rope carefully in its place, whispering to it like an old friend, furniture, not law. Always. Talon scratched out the faint ghost of a timing mark, then finally let their hands rest flat, still for once. Chiron stayed awake longest, tokens clinking quietly. His suspicion never truly slept, but even it softened in the quiet. Up-airs quiet. In the hall, Tessa and Cyrus paused by the ember. It pulsed softly in its sling, warm and steady. One sentence, she whispered. Cyrus thought for a moment, then smiled. I like that we laughed until it hurt. Her smile answered his. Me too. They kissed once, no performance, no audience. Just a plain promise that tomorrow could be faced together. The ember in the hood. The ember burned like bread in an oven, not bright, not showy, but steady enough to feed them all. The hood above the hull sighed the pride out of the ship, and the bowls hummed present, softer than usual, almost like a lullaby. The crew slept, some in bunks, some at tables, some in chairs with tools still in hand. Raptor-One carried them, quiet and patient, through Gray River's night. Tomorrow, Vigil Bend waited, but tonight was theirs.
Thank you for listening. If you would like to be notified about upcoming releases to the Raptor-One series, please subscribe. This has been a Bad Karma Drone production.